Hello there, Super Relaxed Fantasy Club. My name's Ben McQueeney and I'm going to be today showing you the trailer for my book, The Spirit of Things, and I'm going to be reading a short passage from the book. So without further ado, the trailer should happen right now. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that trailer. So I'm going to read a few pages from the book. Hopefully I won't make too many mistakes. I'm not the best at reading, but I will try my best. Okay. This chapter is called Portar. The wall of light that circled the playing field covered it like a luminescent blanket in the darkness of night. Large wooden masts holding at least a dozen bright burning lanterns were planted deep into the ground circling the giant oval, their vibrant glow casting shadows on the grass as the field elfin were preparing the surface for tonight's game. The crowd stirred excitedly in the bowl. The wooden seating platform started at ground level, rising backwards to around 20 rows high. Fulco could see that it was nearly saturated to capacity, with Porter fans going wild and cheering for their team. There were two distinct colours among the fans. Green and black, which he knew to be the colours of the Finney Fury, which was his team apparently, as Hyle would say at least 10 times a day. Therefore, the other colours, violet and crimson, must be that of the Enai Trollums. As Fulco made his way under the heavy struts of the bowl, through a tunnel that cut under the rows of seats towards the periphery of the field, he could smell the aroma of fried meat with undertones of something sweet and charred. He guessed wild onions. It immediately brought his mouth to water. He'd had more than a few drinks at the Wooden Arrow earlier, and it had got him tipsy and thick-headed. He decided that a sausage and onion supper would be just what he needed to settle him. He queued up at the little pop-up stall and waited for a couple of young Humes to pick up their food and move on. The crudely painted sign that hung above the grill read, "Sausages," in bold red paint. He didn't know what to make of it as he waited patiently to be served. It wasn't spelt correctly. Perhaps modern Talusi wasn't the first language of the stall's owner. When he reached the counter that wrapped the grill, he noticed the crackling of hot fat in the pan which spitted grease close to where he was stood. He thought it best not to do any further damage to himself today, so kept a safe distance away from it. As he looked up from what was on offer, from behind the grill stood a behemoth wearing a long waxed apron, tossing a handful of raw onions into the fat. He was covered in thick black hair and looked in every way elfin except for the fact that he was clearly a carrier of the behemoth curse. Large muscular frame, giant claws, red violent eyes, and covered of course in fur. He looked up casually after tossing a dainty sausage and spoke with a light-hearted tone which almost seemed to carry a tune. "Hello there, young sir, can I get you a sausage?" He tossed a lump of white congealed fat into the pan on the grill, humming under his breath. The pan looked old and well used, probably had fried meat for aeons, resulting in a thick black crust around the edge of it. Fulco was more than just a little taken back by this. Not only were the behemoth known for their quick temper and ferocity in battle, but it was also well known that if a Hume was infected with the behemoth curse, that the Hume himself would soon afterward turn into a mindless, dog-like monstrosity, all traces of the man Hume taken over by the rabid and violent beast curse. His pause was clearly noticeable and picked up on by the tall, hairy sausage chef. "Oh my, don't be alarmed, young Hume. I have no open wounds. My blood hasn't been anywhere near my lovely wild boar sausage." His words had a rhythm, and as he performed them, he lifted his shiny metal utensil in the air, shaking it as if to make a point. Fulco had to avoid being splashed with the excess scalding grease and took a slight step backward. He noticed the behemoth's clawed paws gripping the spatula as he waved it through the nighttime air. The damage those things could do would be incredible. "I'm sorry, I just, Fulco fumbled his words while trying to maintain his composure in front of the sausage seller. The behemoth smiled, relaxing his large muscular shoulders and tipping his head to one side. "I wouldn't have much of a business now, would I, Sonny, if I infected everyone who I fed?" He flipped the sausages in the pan again whilst picking back up the tune he was humming. He ignored Fulco as the sound of the spitting grease temporarily became louder as it came into contact with some more raw meat, before dying off just as quickly. Fulco relaxed in himself, feeling slightly embarrassed by the first impression that he had made. He felt guilty that he had given him that impression. "Okay, just one please, with plenty of onions." The jolly behemoth placed a blackened sausage and a scoop of onions into a piece of roughly cut bread, and in one smooth motion picked it up with a spatula and held it in front of Fulco's anticipating eyes. "See? Didn't even touch it with my hands." He spoke with a teasing smile creeping across his face. To be fair to him, he didn't as much as come in contact within 6 inches of touching the food. Fulco took a bite. It was hearty and warm. The sausage had been flavoured with plenty of salt and wild forest herbs. The onions had caramelised, making them sweet and tangy. It was a wonderful condiment in crusty bread. Fulco swallowed his bite and gave the behemoth a grateful nod and a copper penny. "It's good, thank you." Fulco paused, realising he didn't know the behemoth's name. The sausage chef responded quickly. "It's Gary," he said, maintaining a serious, unflinching eye contact. Immediately, Fulco had to use every bit of willpower he had not to start belly laughing and spraying bits of half-masticated sausage all over the stall. He composed himself internally, as well as he could, and after a short pause, swallowed again. "That's certainly an interesting name for a behemoth," he responded, coughing slightly as a stray onion got caught in the back of his throat briefly. "I know, it's simply divine, isn't it? I heard it on my travels, following the games. A name from your kind, I do believe." Fulco swallowed the urge to laugh again away from his face. "Yes, it's perfect. I just expected something a little more ferocious, vicious," Gary replied. "Well, yes, I wasn't going to say." Fulco was surprised by the behemoth's honest observation. "It's okay, young man. I'm not like the rest of my kind. All that fighting and violence isn't for me. I couldn't settle in Dead Marsh with the rest of the behemoth. I know I have this exterior now, but I still feel very much elfin. I like it here." Fulco didn't know how to take Gary the behemoth. "So now you're a chef, serving up all sorts of fried meat at the Fenai Fury Portar Games?" He spoke again with a similar melody wrapping his voice. "Just the sausage. Everyone loves a nice hearty sausage. Anyway, there's lots of interesting people to meet here." He gave Fulco a peculiar smile that didn't sit right with him. He thanked Gary again swiftly and decided to go and find his brother. Not sure if the behemoth's comment was as it seemed or if there was some deeper meaning he had missed. He thought best not to dwell on it and to make his exit before anything else was said that was either strange or give him the compulsion to giggle like a child. Knowing fine well, if Gary so wanted, he could likely remove his head easily with a single swipe of his talons. Okay, so that was a little bit of my book, and thank you very much for putting this up, and if that's something that you want to read, then please go on to benmcqueeney.com. All the details are there. If you have any questions or anything, just let us know, and thank you very much. Bye.